Okay, so I'm making my turkey meatballs. Fairly simple dish. I'm gonna go through the process of putting it in the oven, and then the final photo or the opening photo, the thumbnail will be the actual picture of what the meatballs look like. So I'm gonna start by just dumping the turkey into the pot I'll be using to mix. Keep in mind that I am using an 85-15, so 85% lean turkey, 15% fat blend, which I think is probably best. So now I'm going to add in, I'm going to grab one egg. I should have had this out. I have 3 pounds there of turkey. Just going to grab a single egg. Uh-oh. Quickly as I can. I think I have one. So I'm going to do 1 egg. Crack. And put right into it. I don't like to use breadcrumbs, excuse me, when I make meatballs. Now I'm going to add in my mixture. So I minced some, let me see, some onions and garlic. I'm going to put this all in there. I chopped up about half of a yellow onion, and I want to say about 4 cloves of garlic. I'm a garlic fanatic, and I love onion too, but they're both going to go in. I think I got everything. I'll clean that out later. I have a spice blend. I'm going to be putting these meatballs, I guess I could do like a Swedish take as well, but I'm doing just straight pasta with meatballs. So it is going to be a tomato sauce. So I have part poultry seasoning, like the My Poultry blend that I use to season all my poultry, because I don't eat red meat. I eat poultry and seafood. So I have part poultry seasoning, and then the other part is the Italian blend. So stuff that I like, I put all the seasoning that I like to use to make Italian food. I'm sure you can see me mixing this in. So it's a mixture of like parsley, oregano, basil, very little basil, dried basil. I'm using dried herbs for this. I also mix, I know you're like, why didn't you beat the egg? I didn't feel it was necessary. I'm mixing it in here, so I think it'll be fine. Also with the seasoning, I put in garlic powder, black pepper, some salt. That's just how I season it. And so that's more for the Italian side, and the poultry seasoning is just the standard poultry seasoning. So 3 pounds. So I'm going to start forming the meatballs. I'm going to start them on the stove. That's the way I make it. I start on the stove. Normally, like sometimes I'll wear gloves because I really don't like having to really, just the way I feel like I have to wash my hands to really get the poultry off scares me. So, excuse me. No, I'm like in the frame. Where is I? Oh, sometimes I'll wear gloves, but essentially what I'm doing, I'm making the balls about this size. I'm going to start them on the stove, put them in the oven right after at 400 degrees, and finish them in the oven. So actually, let me put the oven on. I'm going to come around and do that. And I have a pot on the stove, which I'll show you in a second once I'm finished making all the meatballs. A cast iron that's already preheating. Has some olive oil in it, some mild olive oil. And yeah, that's just where I'm putting these after I form them. And I might save some of this meat to do something a little different with it, depending. But yeah, this is pretty much it. I put them in as I make them. I don't let them sit. And what I'm looking for pretty much is like a nice sear. And I did my best to mince the onions. Some pieces are a little bigger. That's something I'm working on. But I'm sure they'll cook down throughout the process. In the oven and on the stove. It's kind of tough. Making meatballs and recording, since this is my first time using the tripod and actually giving you a full cooking video. Ooh, uh-oh. I don't think the oven came on. And I just did the preheat. So, let's try it again. Preheating now. It's preheating to 350, but as soon as I wash my hands, I'll move it up to 4. And what you'll see, what I'll also do, and once this pan is filled, I'm not making any more meatballs. Once the cast iron is filled. What I'll also do is when I put it in the oven, about 10 minutes into the 30 minutes of cooking in the oven, I am going to add in some pretty big chunks of garlic to roast. Well, let me just finish that statement. So, some pretty big chunks to roast, and then I'll add that into my marinara sauce. But then, let me see. When I first put this meat in, I don't know if you noticed there was some liquid at the bottom. I forgot to mention. I put some butter in just to make sure that the meat stays moist. I know it's already an 85-15 blend, but I really don't want to risk having dried out meatballs. So, just about done. I think I have space for maybe 2 more. Yeah, I think I can fit 2 more. And then I'm gonna let these cook on the stove top. Then it's gonna go in the oven as well. The extra meat, trust me, I'll make full use of it. Not too worried about it. And a little bit of extra seasoning that I had. I like to make my seasoning blends in a separate container as opposed to putting my poultry hands on every spice container. I just make it in a separate container. So I'm going to probably I might add some of that to the marinara sauce that I'm making. Or whatever, Sunday mom's gravy or whatever they call it. Not whatever they call it. I'll figure out the proper name. I'll put it in the description. But I will add some of that seasoning to it. It's not traditional by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just how I like it. The last time I made meatballs, I was super excited. Yeah, so I'm making it again. So really quickly, let me show you also what it looks like. Sorry for the shaking, but I want to make sure you kind of get a glimpse. That's my kettle. Just excuse my kettle. Those are some tomatoes that I'm using for my marinara, some heirloom tomatoes. But those are the meatballs in the cast iron. Okay. I'm going to put this into the container where I had the rest of the meat is going to go into the container where I had the peppers and meat, well, the onions and garlic. Put the rest of that in. I don't like to waste, so even what's on my hands I'm going to try to get in. That's just how I operate. And of course I'll wipe the outside of the container before I put this in the fridge. And who knows, I might add this into the pasta sauce, into some pasta sauce later in the week, or I might make a stroganoff. That could be my next dish. I love to make a good stroganoff. It'll be oddly seasoned stroganoff. You really don't put oregano in stroganoff like a turkey stroganoff, but that might be what I make. I had some last week, and I put that there. The stroganoff last week, and I use bow ties. Love stroganoff with bow ties. I don't know why, I just do. So sorry you have to watch this. Okay, I think that's all I'm going to get. I don't want to keep doing this. So I'm going to fill this bowl. I'm doing my best not to cross-contaminate. I really don't want to have this down here. I'm going to put this on top of that pasta sauce. I'm going to open that up later. Or not pasta sauce, on top of the crushed tomatoes, which I'll be opening up later because I will be adding that to the sauce that I already have on the stove. Cooking with a one camera operation is certainly tough. Now as you can see, did I kind of sort of maybe make a mistake with the meatballs that I didn't do before? Possibly. Did I overcrowd? Perhaps. Am I gonna get a sear on the bottom? Probably not. But fortunately I am I'm adding, what am I trying to say? I'm going to add the meatballs directly into the marinara. I prefer personally to have a sear, but if that doesn't happen this time around, I'm fine. I'll for sure be making meatballs sometime in the near future because I just love meatballs. So I'm not too worried about it. But for the sake of this video, yes, I would have preferred to have I would have preferred to have had a nice sear on the bottom. But you can see, because there's so many of them, and with the liquid, it looks like they're boiling. As they continue, as I flip them, we'll see when I flip them. Actually, I don't know yet. We'll see when I flip them. So, setting this properly to 400 degrees. I'm gonna wipe this. Take this down a bit. Directly into my garbage bag. I don't know, when I make poultry, I like to have a separate bag because, I don't know, it's just too much for me. Okay, well, let's see. Actually, I started here. Let's see what I get. Oh, I'm scared of the sear. I did get a little sear. Okay, I'm happy now. I'm happy. I feel like what I've worked for in life, you know, I'm seeing the fruits of my labor. Let's see. This one is looking, okay. You're not as seared. Let it go a little longer. Okay. If I flip two of them, I'm like too hyped. Just gonna move it over a little, get a better close up. And actually, while those are still cooking, because I want to make sure they have a good sear, which I'm so happy those do, probably because they were some of the first in, but I'm happy they have a good sear. I'm gonna flip. Let me see. Let me see what you're doing. Oh yes, yes. Oh, okay, that's not that bad. Tough to flip when there's so many in the pan, but I'll take it. I'll take it. Not gonna complain. Let's see. And as they cook, they shrink some, so that also works in my favor when I overcrowd. Or it works in our favor when we overcrowd. And maybe before I flip the rest of these, I can use more of that spice blend. Just put some of that over. And yes, this is one of my containers from, I feel like, and you see that steam, that's why I don't like to really use the spices right over, like the actual spice containers right over the pan I'm cooking with. And that's why I told you not to, because it will cause it to stick and it'll start to kick up. But I like to reuse everything. Like, especially containers like that, little plastic or any glass containers I get, I generally repurpose them and just use it for something else. I don't like to throw stuff out. This one's giving me a tough time. And I don't like to, come on, don't break on me. Don't be that one. Okay, that's okay. I don't like to spend money. I don't like throwing stuff out, and I don't like spending money. So, there you go. There's my perfect recipe. Now, I'm happy to see that at least this first side, even if the other side doesn't sear, it'll sear in the oven, because that's the side it'll be on in the oven. But yeah, it looks like I am going to have a nice seal on these meatballs. All praises due. Come on, don't do this to me. I know you were stuck to the oven. Don't do this. Okay, do that. Do your thing. Yeah. When these meatballs learn how to act and how to conduct themselves in my cast iron, you know, don't you act no fool in my cast iron pan. Come on, look at you. Actually, no, that's me. That was on me. Let me focus. Okay, there we go. Decent enough sear. This one I know is going to have a nice sear. Watch. I'm going to flip that next. Let's see. And I don't like flipping out towards me. One, because I don't have an apron on, but two, I don't want to deal with the splashing on the floor or whatever sort of situation they have in mind. I don't want to participate. And this is going to be the last one. The last one I feel like is always going to be tough because it just is. I don't know. And it's not like a burger where the whole thing just fits perfectly on. And I feel like the biggest part of this is that it's just I overcrowded the pan. I can admit to that. I don't think I did this before when I made them. The meatballs were a little smaller, one. But two, I did them in batches. From what I can remember now, I did do it in batches. Because I really don't remember it being this hard. So I'm pretty sure I did it in batches. Or I made them smaller, and so they fit. It was easier to just flip them. Like they just kind of rolled on their own. It wasn't a production like this is a production. But I had a decent sear. It wasn't all up. Uh-oh. Let's see, don't do this to me. Don't do this. Okay. How y'all at? Oh. Okay. And as soon as all these are flipped, I'm going to wait maybe about 2 minutes, and then they're going in the oven. Look at me. I'm tearing this one up on the side. Okay, let me focus. And it's like you gotta strategize. Okay. What? Okay. Move that over some. Let's see. You look like you got a little sense. You square it off on the sides a little from being closely connected. Okay. I should flip you only because I had somewhat of a hard time playing around. Actually, I'm gonna take this really quick. Finish off the seasoning on the ones that didn't properly season. That's the last of it. This is the last one. I see how you acting over on the side, and that's alright. That's okay. Just gonna keep it together, keep it together, keep it together. Alright. So you can see they rendered off a good amount of fat on their own because it was 85-15. And then now all I'm gonna do is wait about 2 minutes. I'm going to add that garlic in right after. Oh no, I'm going to put it in the oven and then 10 minutes into cooking in the oven. I'll add in the garlic I had, and then that will be it. Okay, taking the wrap out. I'm going to put this into the oven. Grab it with both hands. Straight in, 400-degree oven. I'm going to set the time. I'm going to turn this burner off. Set the time. 30 minutes. Well, let me do 10 and then I'll do 20. So I'm going to do the 10 so I know when to put the garlic in. And then I'll do 20 for the remaining cooking time. And that's pretty much it. I'll bring over my sauce really quickly so you can take a look at that. The handle broke. It is what it is. Got some seasoning in here. I did some heirloom tomatoes, like the two that I'm about to put in now. Some heirloom tomatoes, chunks of garlic you can see, some olive oil, tomato paste, and that's pretty much it. So I'm going to put these last two in. The bigger ones, I'll put that back on the back burner because it is on low. Then I'm also going to add some of this tomato sauce. For this crushed tomato. Crushed tomato. It's important to make the distinction. It's not peeled tomato. It's not marinara sauce. It's not tomato sauce. It's actually crushed tomato, and it has a bit of sweet basil, which I'm excited about because I don't have any basil of my own. And I like sweet basil. Don't necessarily like, and I personally, because of where I am, I don't like sugar in my pasta sauce. It's like my least favorite thing. I'm not a big fan of having sugar in my pasta sauce. So I'm just going to take a knife real quick and bend the top of this can back some. put about, that's about half the can that I just put in. And that's where I'm going to leave it. I'm going to switch it back to the original burner. And that's pretty much it. I will show you a photo, or I'll put a photo in as a thumbnail of the finished meatballs in the cast iron as they come out of the oven, and then I'll show you what it looks like in the marinara sauce as well. So you can see the two bigger ones. They just were added in, but they will burst in the same way that the others did. The yellow heirlooms, you can see that's a peel from a red heirloom tomato. So that's it. Oh my God, I can smell the basil. All right, thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment. Let me know if you're going to try it, and if you do try it, let me know how it tastes. Take care.